What you're looking at right now is the low-end radio stream encoder computer. And this thing is a Asus Q87M-E motherboard with a Core i7 4770 CPU, 8 gigs of RAM, 250 gig Western Digital hard drive. Actually, I'm sorry, it's an SSD, not a hard drive. And it's running Windows 7. And the reason why it is running Windows 7 is because the capture card that's in it, and I did verify this, is not supported under anything later than Windows 7. So I think you can get it to work under 8.1, because I'm pretty sure I have gotten it to work under 8.1 before, but it will certainly not work under Windows 10. You can get it to work under Linux. Oh yes, there's no problem with that, but I don't really feel like screwing around with this computer. It's been in this case since I got it. It's not the original case to that system. The case that it would originally have would have been one of those silver ones. I'm sure you've seen a couple of them in my previous builds. My Pentium D rig is in one of those cases, and so is the second capture PC. But I've tried to upgrade this thing twice, since the hardware that's in it is really getting tired, particularly the motherboard. Maybe the CPU too, but certainly the motherboard. It was a junk find, and there certainly was a reason why it was junked. Either way, I tried once with a Q370. That obviously is not going to run Windows 7. And I tried upgrading to 10 with a new capture card, but I didn't really want to reset everything with that. So that ended up in my capture PC. Then I tried again with an H510 rig, and, well, that predictably went sideways when it turned out Asus had lied about the fact that it supported Windows 7 when in fact it did not. But I'm coming for it this time because this hardware definitely supports Windows 7. So here's the heart of the project, the Asus Prime Q70M-C CSM. We've got these at work. They're very nice boards, very reliable. I don't think I've ever really had problems with these. And most of the problems that I have had been software related. I had a hard drive fail in one. I think I had an SSD fail in one, maybe. I know that the RAM can sometimes be problematic, but, you know, those are 3 years old at this point, so it's not surprising that they're starting to have a couple of issues. Now, Microsoft, in their infinite wisdom, decided at some point around the line that, oh, well, new CPU platforms, we're going to make people run Windows 10 on these, you know, because that's not anti-competitive behavior. So, Kaby Lake, which is 7th gen Intel and newer, you have to run a tool to get rid of the message that says, oh, this is an unsupported CPU, and causes updates not to install. And I didn't want to deal with that on this system, so I ended up getting this, direct from China, as you can probably tell. Core i5 unlocked. This is a 6600K. It was half the cost of the 6700K i7, or sorry, the 6700 i7, and because I'm barely touching the performance capabilities of that i7 4770, I didn't think I needed a 6700 CPU, so we'll just go for the i5. Should be more than good enough. This is a Skylake chip, which represents the newest that Windows 7 officially supports, even though there's nothing wrong with running Windows 7. Even on a brand new chip, you can still do it. I don't think it comes with a cooler. It's awfully light even if it does, and if it does come with a cooler, I'm not going to use it because of the crap. I have this Be Quiet Pure Rock Slim 2 Quiet and Compact Cooling Essential CPU cooler, good to 130 watt TDP. I think this chip puts out 90, if I remember right. I don't remember exactly, but it might be a little bit less than that. Either way, this thing, I'm hoping that this will go much better than the Shadow Rock's LP cooler did. That Shadow Rock cooler was really hard to install, but this should be fine because it's a tower cooler. I also hope that it's going to clear the case. I am going to put it into a new case. I've also got this RAM. I have two sets. They're both what I thought were the same, but one of them is actually cast 17, the other one's 15. So I don't know if they'll actually work with each other. But one came out of another system. I think it actually came out of the Linux test PC. The other one's a brand new kit that I bought for this. I'm going to try it, just because I can up get to 16 gigs by doing this, and I might as well max it out. I don't think it's ever going to see any more than 16 gigs anyway. So I'm going to unpackage all this crap, and we'll go ahead and set it up and see if it works. Here's a look at the board with the green PCB. It's kind of funny how everything went to black for most things, and then all of a sudden green was back in style. But here it is. Install a processor first, then remove and keep the cover. Use the RAM slots. I'm not really sure how I feel about the placement of these SATA connectors. It seems kind of weird to me that they've done it this way, instead of having them all in one location. I'm sure there's a technical reason for that. But there's a CPU fan connection. There's your 4-pin power connector. It has the one PCI slot that I need, 2 NVMe, and it comes with the necessary mounting parts. I'll probably install those, but I'm not going to use an NVMe SSD on this build. I'm just going to use the existing setup. It has 2 chassis fan connections. I wish I had actually remembered that, because I wanted to put a front fan in the new case, but I decided that I didn't know if this had the 2 headers, so I didn't put the fan in. Oh well, hopefully the cooling will be good enough with just the one fan. I'm not really thrilled either about the fact that it's only got one USB header. Like, I don't know why they've gone to this having one USB 2.0 front header, but whatever. Pretty decent selection of ports. I'm going to test it with the onboard video on the bench. So, I almost broke it, and I haven't even used it yet. But I'm going to go ahead and install the RAM and the CPU, and then we'll worry about the heatsink. Of course, it comes with all this extra stuff as well, including the I/O plate. And the SATA cables, which I'll probably end up using. Okay, here we go. I've got the NVMe screws installed, which I'm not going to use. Got all the RAM. I'm just going to try it with all the RAM first. If we have issues, I can always take some of the RAM sticks out. We can go to 8 gigs. I don't need 16, but I figure since I've got it laying around, we might as well use it. And there is the i5 6600K, which I'm hoping is a genuine chip. This is supposed to be a new chip, but I see a scratch there in the heat spreader, so I almost wonder if this is not a new chip, and that's why it was so cheap. Okay, here is the cooler. Yeah, there's no question in my mind that'll clear the case. Unfortunately for the Intel, it uses the plastic push pins. Probably should have expected that out of a cheap cooler. It came with the AMD mount already on it, but we're not going to be using the AMD mount, we're using the Intel. So I'm going to put those push pin things on, and then we'll go ahead and install the cooler. Okay, I've gone ahead and installed it in its new case. Which you can see is another one of these kinds of cases. I haven't cleaned the front, which is no big deal. I did install an optical drive just because I do like those in my builds. Even though, like I said, I'm probably the only person on the planet who still uses those. I am going to have to get more of these USB 3.0 to 2.0 adapters. I'll have to figure out where I got them from. I'll get another set of them, hopefully, so I can actually plug in the remaining front panel connections on this case. Because there are 2 of them, because I guess there's 4 USB ports, and each one of these headers corresponds to 2 of them. So, either way, I'm going to go ahead and install a power supply. It's going to be a different one, not the one that's in the existing system. And we'll leave it at that. Or, well, I'll put that in, I'll plug it in, probably run memtest, make sure all this RAM is stable, if it even posts. And from there, then we can pull the old machine out and transfer all the parts I need to transfer. Okay, here we are. Let's see what it does. Comes on. Wow, it's quiet. See if it posts. I have a speaker hooked up, so I should hear a beep. Like that. Would like to go into setup. which it looks like it'll let me do anyway. New CPU installed. Press F1. Don't mind if I do. So, turn on the XMP, 151535. I hope the CAS 16, or sorry, CAS 17 is going to work at that speed. Guess we'll find out. So I'm going to set the BIOS up to my liking, and then I'm going to boot into memtest, and we'll let this thing run a couple passes on memtest, or one pass at least, see what happens. Okay, I think that either my fan or my fan header is broken for chassis fan 1, because that fan wasn't actually running. I had to bump the connector in order to get it to run. Hopefully that's not going to be a problem. We'll go and we'll save and exit. We'll turn on. That's kind of loud. See if it'll post. There we go. F8 for a boot menu. It'll actually work and let me into a boot menu. Intel boot agent. Maybe. There we go. Should work. There we go. Memtest 86 Plus. We'll let it sit and run on that for a little bit. It's very interesting CAS ratings. This is an older version of memtest, I think. I'm probably going to have to update it because I think it's a little bit out of date, but everything seems to be okay. CPU might be a little bit warm, but it is a K SKU after all. It seems to be okay anyway. It's not shooting up to like 90 degrees, which is probably more than good enough. But we'll let it run memtest. Hopefully it'll work. I guess we'll find out. Okay, I think it's pretty much done through one pass, so it's probably going to be okay. So I'm going to get the old machine out and start transferring the parts over that I need to transfer. Alright, here's the existing system. So, video card, capture card, and the SSD are all that I need out of this. So, go ahead and we'll remove those. Get them in the new one. Okay. Everything is transferred. Hope I've plugged everything in correctly. See what it does. Okay, we get a beep. I'm going to just let it boot. Okay. Asus in search of Incredible. We got starting Windows. Please don't explode. Okay, it didn't. I thought it did. It just booted up so quickly that it gave the impression that it was in a blue screen. So I think we're good to go. Let me go ahead and log in and do all the rigmarole I need to get the new platform set up. Alright, let's run the Windows Experience Index. New hardware detected. There's the existing scores. Let's see if this brings any improvement. Okay, here we have yet another example of why these Windows Experience benchmarks are kind of broken. I had a look at the actual performance benchmarks, and the i5-6600K is about 6% better overall than the i7-4770. And yet I think we went down 1 percentage point on the sub-score there. The RAM went up to a 7.9, which is good because it should have. Video stayed the same, which is good because it should have. And again, I don't know why, but the data transfer rate rating went down like 4 points for some reason, even though it's the same drive. So, again, not worth putting faith in because they're obviously wrong. But, I mean, if you want to see your benchmark numbers, there they are. So, whatever. I think everything is set up. I don't think there are any unknown devices. At least not any that matter. You can go and have a look. Huh, well, there are quite a few, actually. Well, I was installing drivers, and when I went to go install a USB one, this is what came up. Really? This is supposed to be an Intel driver, too. So, really fills one with confidence on the quality of the quality control. Alright, no comments on the decor of the room, please. Here it is in its permanent home, assuming that it actually lasts. Fire it up. Hope the hard drive LED is in place. Alright, we've got video. The hard drive LED is in place, I just saw it flash. So, should boot into Windows. I want to log in. I'm going to fire up some parts of the LER Studio so I can have some sound test and also some video test. Okay, I think we're pretty much good to go because as you can see we've got audio levels. The audio levels look okay. I did have to go ahead and change some of the things just because it was going from the old sound card and the new one's different. So I don't know what you'd really call them. The pins, the audio pins are different. So I just had to make that quick change. It wasn't too bad. So we have that and we've got video. I can control it, no problem. So with that being said, I'm going to end this video. So there's your final stream encoder replacement. Finally. Stay tuned for the next video where we see what we're going to do with the old one.